in order to build momentum in an organization, you have to start with a center of excellence. And the maturity comes when you no longer have to go tout that as a center of excellence, because the lexicon and the behaviors have just become ingrained in the organization.
Right.
At which point that shifts to the business side of companies. I'll give you examples. If you look back at corporations in the past, you had e-commerce centers of excellence, you had mobile centers of excellence, you had web centers of excellence. Those don't exist anymore because that's become common kind of lexicon across the entire business. It just is how we conduct business today. So I would say my preference is to get to that disbursement across the business as quickly as possible. And we're not there yet when it comes to AI. We are still functioning within a center of excellence. There's a lot of education. There's a lot of just even terminology that we have to get everyone using consistently. And so that's where we're at today. But, my whole goal is to, success is based on propagating that out into the businesses long term.
What I'm seeing is that first, in terms of data science talent, the firms that do it well and do it the best have data scientists who are really supporting the questioning, querying, creativity of where do I go next? What should I be watching for? More of that strategic planning and oversight piece. And so in pharmaceuticals, you'll see researchers teamed up with a data scientist, for example. In oil and gas, you see engineers paired up with data scientists, where they're constantly ratcheting models and then using like gaming engines to put those models on top of that with all the data, so you can actually visually see and interact with that to figure out where you want to go. But when you want to take those models and drive action, the data scientists now hand that artifact over to machine learning engineers, data engineers, and solution engineers, that DevOps team, to start hooking it up and bringing it into a solution that helps you to automate, to scale, and so on. And so what we're finding is that there still may be some data scientists in that centralized model that are supporting, like, what happens if the model that was passed over doesn't really work right in the real world, or we need more explainability, or it has to meet certain standards for transparency in regulated scenarios. So they might adjust the model, change the model up, or do something else. So they're still sitting there with the team, but you always need somebody who really understands what's going on in the business and can speak that language and move that forward. If you only keep your data scientists in that techie analytic world, they're never really going to help you. And honestly, that's where a lot of firms fall down, because those data scientists get bored and they leave.
Certainly the best practices I'm seeing across clients is a think global, act local model. There's certain things that need to be done once. A data foundation can often be done as a foundational element across an enterprise, and also breaks down the silos and pockets of data, which often sub-optimize an AI-based solution. I'm seeing this in some very consumer and business-focused hardware companies, where the product lines have 50, 60 different products, but the consumer or buyer experience is a unified one. And if they don't bring the data together in some sort of foundational layer, they miss a lot of the value of the insights. And then there are also best practices, standards, tools, education, things that can be done centrally. But to Michelle's point, understanding where to apply data science is done best when it's closest to the people who generate the outcome. And this has come up throughout our entire discussion. Knowing what good looks like, business outcomes, business goals, having data scientists who can translate that into the kind of experiments and data requirements that might exist, allows the innovation to happen locally, and to drive requirements back into the data foundation, drive requirements back into tools and methods so that others can collaborate and help.